Welcome to the Devy debate. All right, boys, are we ready to debate? Bruning, are you ready to go head-to-head with me?
I am.
Gotta get my popcorn out here. Hold on.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I'm Felix Sharp. I know you didn't think that we would get through this episode without mentioning the name one Zach F. Wilson.
It is first and goal. Ball spotted just inside the 10. Algier in. Wilson faked it to him and keeps it. Zach Wilson, the speed, and he dives for the end zone. Touchdown.
That's Austin Nace.
Gibbs, who is probably going to be the best pass catcher out of the three.
Now, first down, he's going to get after it again. And look at the speed and the spark and the score from Gibbs. Just what Georgia Tech needed.
That's Matt Bruning.
G. Scott Jr. Obviously, I waxed poetic about him on the last episode, so I won't do that again here.
And this time it's Fields on the carry. Watch out! Justin Fields! Hello, Columbus! 51 yards!
Austin, you tweeted something, bro. You tweeted your running back ranking. Explain yourself.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Ohio State fan talking there.
Oh, shit.
That is why you come to the Devy debate. Apologies to Kirk Herbstreit. We ran out of time. We'll get him rescheduled soon. And for Matt Bruning and Austin Nace, I'm Felix Sharp. Good night and good luck. It's 9:30 Eastern time, the time zone that's classy, bougie, ratchet. That means it's time for the Devy debate on a savage version of tonight's show. Who are the top 12 running backs in college football? Can Matt find running backs to rank who don't wear red and silver? And can anyone catch Bijan Robinson? But we start with Stuart Mandel addressing an interesting question in his weekly mailbag article on The Athletic. If you don't have a subscription to The Athletic, there's some really interesting stuff always there, always covering college football. In that article, Mandel addresses if there was to be some sort of conference realignment, what schools would make the leap from the group of five to a Power Five conference. Austin, what G5 school would you like to see make the jump to Power Five, and what conference would you like to see that school join?
It's so hard for me to just choose one. There are a lot that I'd like to see, but I think the common denominator between all the ones that I think of is they're kind of in the middle of a recruiting hotbed. So they have access to some of these players that maybe fall through the fingers of a Texas or a Florida or an Ohio State or someone like that. So I think that really you kind of, starts to narrow it down to either a Texas school, a Florida school, or an Ohio school. I know the top answer on the article was Cincy, so I won't give them. I'm going to say SMU, who was someone that he didn't talk about at all, someone that at a school that has, a lot of history, maybe not recent history, and really none since the program got nuked in the 80s. But I think, they're in Texas. They're right in the heart of Texas. So they have access to all those recruits down there. And I think that college football is just better off when more of these old-timey type programs are doing well. And I think SMU getting that bump up to the Power Five would give it some, help it relive some of those glory days. So, and I think the natural fit is obviously with the Big 12, where a lot of their, historic rivals are hanging out.
I had two answers, actually. One for the Pac-12, one for the Big 12. In the Big 12, what about Houston? I mean, Houston is a high-flying offense. They're right there in Texas. They could probably get elevate the recruiting if they join the Big 12. It's a conference that doesn't play a lot of defense, and Houston scores a lot of points. You got Dana Holgorsen down there, kicking quarterbacks out of the school. So I thought Houston was one potential option. And then, the right answer is Boise State, right? Boise State joining the Pac-12. Boise State has been relevant since Jared Zembransky was on the cover of the NCAA football game. Austin, the NCAA football game you're too young to know, but it's a game, the college game that we all used to play when we were in college. Okay. You were probably watching, Nickelodeon at the time. Anyway, but I think Boise State is the right answer because they can recruit from California. If they join the Pac-12, they could probably go down to Texas and get some players. And fun fact, I met Coach Chris Peterson walking down the street. He was coaching for Boise State right before he went to Washington. I was going to the bank. He was playing Michigan State. I was going to the bank one morning, and and I was driving, and the team stays in a hotel downtown in downtown Lansing. I saw him. I pulled over. He was walking with his son. I pulled over, jumped out of the car, and said, "Hey, coach, can I get a picture with you?" He was like, "Yeah." His son takes the picture, and while he's there, I said, "Hey, coach, thank you for Titus Young." He said, "What?" Because he didn't realize where he was. Titus Young playing for the Detroit Lions at the time. I said, "Thank you for Titus Young." I should have said thank you for Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore was playing for the Lions at the time too, and obviously Titus Young went to go get arrested several times and was kicked off the team, and Kellen Moore was almost hired as the head coach of Boise State this offseason before deciding to stay with Dallas. So that seems to be the right answer for me. Bruning, who do you got that if there was conference realignment would make the jump from G5 to Power 5?
Well, unlike Austin, I like to take the easy answer, so I'm going to go Cincinnati. That's what Stuart Mandel, I believe, put as his number one school in there. They play Ohio State quite often, which I like. I think they'd fit perfectly in the Big Ten. I actually think they'd be right in that middle tier of you've got Penn State, Ohio State. That team up north are kind of the class of the division for the most part, and I think Cincinnati could slide in right underneath them and be a lot better than some of the other teams that are in there. So I'd love to see Cincinnati, and especially with that defense. I don't think Luke Fickell's going anywhere anytime soon. He's done a really good job recruiting. I can't wait to see Evan Prater there next year at quarterback, so Cincinnati would be the team for me. Are you shaking your head for it? Prater's good.
I mean, he's actually you're picking an Ohio school. I mean, it's just the most cliche.
Yeah, of course.
Everyone with their Devy debate bingo card.
Stay on brand.
Gotta
stay on brand. Exactly.
I could have said Western Michigan, but that just wouldn't. But okay.
Well, they suck though. There's a difference. Like Cincinnati's actually a good school, and a good team.
Cincinnati, a good school, a good team. Brian Kelly used to be the coach at Cincinnati. He was formerly the coach at Central Michigan and Grand Valley State University, my alma mater. So whatever, I'll give you that one. All right, we've got like a really easy, fun show for you guys tonight. We are going to cover our top 12 running back rankings in C2C formats. I actually got into rankings for the first time in the last couple of months, and it's hard. It's really hard. So I'm trying to, follow Austin and Colin and be able to rank these players, go 100 deep or whatever it is. So, but we're going to cover our top 12 today, our top 12. Before we get into that, Matt, what are you looking for when you rank running backs? What gets you excited? What allows you to put, a player in that top 12?
Yeah, so we talked about it a little bit on our draft profile show. If you guys haven't listened to those, we do those come out every Monday. We break down a lot of the prospects coming into the NFL this year. And I talked about with Jamar Jefferson because I was much higher on him than you two are. For me, it's vision and that lateral quickness. I don't really care that much about the home run speed. What they can do behind the line of scrimmage is huge to me. If they can find those holes, get some yardage. I like when they can make players miss I'm trying to remember the exact saying here because I'm going to butcher it, but I believe the saying is they can make people miss in a phone booth. Is that correct? Is that how that saying goes? I like running backs that can do that. I mean, the power part of it is good as well. Javonte Williams, I think you could do a little bit of both. If you can run over those guys as well, I like that. But for me, it's mostly the lateral agility and vision for me is what I look for quarterbacks. My God, running backs.
Austin, what about you?
I'm very similar to Matt, and I think I fall kind of somewhere between you guys in the spectrum where I know, Felix, you look for, the big athlete or like the pass catcher. Like that, those are kind of the two categories that you look for. And, Matt kind of looks for a little more of the elusiveness, the smooth mover. I probably fall somewhere in between those. I don't know. I mean, because I sometimes I like guys from any of those camps. You just watch a guy sometimes and you're like, I like this guy. I don't think I have like a specified type. I just kind of, I know it when I see it, is that the infamous Supreme Court ruling.
On obscenity. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. I wasn't going to go too far into that, but
yeah. Austin. No, I'm right there with you. I know it when I see it also. Kareem Hunt I felt that way. Back when I was watching Toledo versus Western Michigan his senior year. But you're right. I mean, when I see a running back lining up in the slot and running drags and running go routes and being able to use like in a substantive way in the passing game, that gets me excited. Zach Reed, of Dynasty Dummies, he cited this stat a bunch this offseason. Derrick Henry ran for 2,000 yards this season, and he was still, I think, 80 points below in Alvin Kamara, who finished first in PPR formats. Running the ball doesn't really matter anymore for running backs. They have to be able to catch the ball. And when you see Jahmyr Gibbs and Aaron Jones line up in the slot, line up outside and beat running backs, I mean, it creates a tremendous advantage for your offense, but also for your fantasy team. So that's one thing that really gets me excited. And you don't see it often. You don't see it often where they can do that. So, but that's what I'm always looking for that. And quite frankly, it's the one position where I'm going to go to ESPN recruiting and say, all right, what was this guy's 40 time? How did he compare to his peers? What was his vertical jump? All of that sort of thing. Are we ready to do it? Are we ready to just jump into the rankings? Let's go 10 through 12, or 12 through 10, excuse me. We're going to go in reverse order. And Austin, what if I throw it to you first to give me your 12 through 10 at running back in C2C format?
Awesome. I can do that. So I have 3 2023 backs here that comprise my 12 through 10. Number 12 is Marshawn Lloyd, a guy that we haven't seen at all yet for South Carolina, but I liked him similarly to how I liked Gibbs and Bigsby and Evans coming into last year. I think he's that class of a player, obviously unfortunate with the knee injury. Assuming he comes back, maybe he's not a mega producer this year, but I just think his upside is so high that I couldn't drop him any lower than that. Number 11, Jace McClellan, the Alabama running back. And I'm not really sure how that backfield is going to shake out, but I think he has as much upside as anybody there. And, a top 12 list is not complete without a Bama player somewhere in there. So McClellan is the one there. And then number 10 is the guy that I don't even know if any of you guys will have in your top 12. I haven't looked, but it's Diamante Trianum, who's at Arizona State. He's my guy. He's been my guy for a very long time. And I think he's just going to produce like crazy at Arizona State over the next few years. Felix is saying he's in his too. So are you higher on him than me?
I don't know.
We'll
see. We'll see. Bruning, 10 through 12. Well, hold on. Let's let me. I'm always not paying attention. So Austin, give me it real quick. Who you got? 12 through 10. One more time.
Sure. So I got Marshawn Lloyd at 12.
Lloyd.
Jace McClellan at 11. And Diamante Trianum at 10.
Okay. All right. Here. Bruning, give me your 10 through 12.
All right, so at 12, I have Zach Evans out of TCU. He's a guy that came on a little bit at the end of last year. Obviously, a highly rated prospect. I have high hopes for him this year in that TCU offense to kind of produce a little bit more. I think he's got that NFL upside. And since it's the C2C rankings, that's kind of how I attacked a lot of these guys. At number 11, I have Austin's boy, Deontay Traynham. He's very good. It was hard for me not to keep him out of my God, I'm butchering this sentence. I kept looking at it, and the more and more I looked at it, there's just no way I could keep him out of my top 12. If you guys saw who I had at 13, I'd probably get crucified for that. So I thought 11 was right around a fair spot for him. It's Raymond Davis. I'll just say it. I don't care. Raymond Davis is my number 13 running back in my C2C rankings. So, but I like Traynham a lot. Austin said it's his guy. He's been talking about him since we started this show. And he's dead right on him. He looks phenomenal. I can't wait to see what he's able to do next year. Hopefully Jaden Daniels taking another step forward as well, kind of helping out there. I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And then at 10, I have Kendall Milton out of Georgia. Now, Zamir White going back there, obviously it hurts him a little bit this year, but I did a freshman profile on him last year. I just love his skill set. I think he's almost Jahmyr Gibbs. He's like a lesser version of Jahmyr Gibbs, I guess is the way to put it. And so I think he's getting overlooked because he's there behind Zamir White. He's got, I think, we're doing a lot of C2C mocks, and he's going in like the second, third round. I think he has a chance to be like a first-round talent next year. So I love Milton. He's a guy that I'm very high on.
I want to point out two things about this TCU and ASU at Arizona State backfields is that both of those black backfields are timeshares And TCU, you've got Zach Evans splitting time with Darwin Barlow, who's also a redshirt freshman and played well himself for TCU for an offense that wasn't very good. At Arizona State, a guy that we've covered earlier this season is Rashad White, an older prospect who has the requisite size, has some long speed, maybe not as much burst, but he can catch the ball, and he's a very good player in his own right. And in C2C formats, both of these players, Barlow and White, they may have NFL potential. We're not talking about day one, first or second round, but they're players who are going to find themselves or could find themselves on NFL rosters. And because they're in timeshares with players that we're much higher on, they're going to fall in drafts. And so just for the audience that's listening, I don't think that either of those players are going to be in our top 12. So it's fair to cover them now. Darwin Barlow and Rashad White are players that you should be paying attention to, because when you watch those games next season, you say, hey, Zach Evans, Diamante Trainium, they didn't score the touchdown on this drive. It's going to be those guys. It's going to be Barlow and Rashad White. So for me, at number 12, I've got Jace McClellan. It feels obligatory that you have to have a Alabama running back in your top 12 in some capacity. And Jace McClellan appears to be the heir apparent to Najee Harris. It's not going to be Kamar Wheaton this year. It's not going to be Brian Robinson, who's been there, it seems like, for 10 years. It's going to be, it looks like it's going to be Jace McClellan. And so for that reason alone, that offense is going to be, I think, is going to be very explosive and revolve around Bryce Young. So, it would be negligent not to have an Alabama running back in your top 12. So I've got Jason McClellan, number 12. I've got Will Shipley, the freshman class of 2024 running back going to Clemson, a 5-star prospect. I believe he's the third running back, according to 24/7, to Travion Henderson and Donovan Edwards. Will Shipley is going to have an opportunity to start, have an opportunity probably to split time with, I believe, Kobe Pryor and Phil Maffa, who's also a freshman, and folks are high on him too. But Will Shipley, I mentioned earlier, I like athletes and I like pass catchers, and he's probably both. Might be the most athletic running back of the 5 stars. He's clocked a sub 4.5, just a very explosive athlete. White guy. If he was a black guy, he might be the number 1 running back in this class. So, and at number 10, I got Zamir White. I like the way Zamir White finished the season last year, especially in the game against Missouri. It looked like he had fully recovered from injury. But I've seen Kobe Pace, not Kobe Pryor. I got to think of who I was thinking of.
No, he changed his last name. So you were right up until like
a
couple months ago.
Okay. All right. So, but I have Zamir White in my top 10. Just, he was the number 1 running back in his class, and he didn't show flat. He looked sluggish, but it's understandable because what he had a torn ACL his senior year or maybe his senior year in high school, and then right as training camp was starting as a freshman. So, but how he looked this year towards the end of the season, I'm like, okay, that's why that guy was as highly rated as he was. But again, I've seen Kendall Milton, people that I respect. I've seen Kendall Milton rated highly amongst those guys, and so that is definitely a ranking that I could see changing in the next couple of months or so. All right, Austin, let me go back to you with your let's see, 7, 8, and 9. How about 7, 8, and 9?
Sure. So my number 9 is Kendall Milton. And kind of for the same reasons you guys were saying, so I don't have that much else to say about it. I always I did hesitate to put him there for a long time, and he's kind of been a guy that he bounces anywhere from like 9 to like 16 for me, depending on the day. Just because, like you guys have said, it's not only Zamir White that's blocking him. They have Lavassier Carroll coming in this year. They have, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. I know I'm going to butcher it, so I apologize. Dejan Edwards. who I really, really like there. And I think he's
who wears number 33 because he was the 33rd ranked back in his class. So he's playing with a chip on his shoulder.
He's got that right mentality already. Yeah, exactly. And then they have James Cook, who I don't love as like a pro prospect, but he's going to stay hydrated, Felix. I'm glad Dennis stops by for his pearls of wisdom here now and then. And they have James Cook. And I don't think he's much of an NFL guy, but, Dalvin Cook's brother, he gets touches there. So I think that kind of nerfs Milton for at least a year here. But, I think I have a pretty strict cutoff after 6. And I think any of these guys after this probably have opportunity, but not like a full-fledged. So, I'm fine with putting him there. At number 8, I have Zach Evans. And Matt already kind of talked a little bit about him. I guess I'm a little bit higher just because TCU doesn't really have a lot going on down there for him. They have Evans, they have Quentin Johnston, who I am probably a little bit lower on than most people at wide receiver, true freshman last year. I like him. I'm not in love with him yet. And then, Barlow is like moderately intriguing, but that's really it. They don't have a lot of else. So I could see Evans getting a lot of touches next year. And then that's it, right? Or am I going to 7? I'm going to 7, aren't I? So, and then 7 is Kyron Williams, the Notre Dame back. And he's right kind of on that edge of I wouldn't be comfortable taking him in the first round of a C2C startup. But if running backs are flying off the board and I really wanted a running back, I'm fine with taking him in the second. I think he'll produce very well there next year. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's going to be a PPR monster. And I think at worst in the NFL, he has like a James White level career. But I think he's a much better runner than a James White type player. I'm just saying, that's like his like absolute floor in the NFL, in my opinion. But I think he has the size and build to be a 3-down guy.
Austin, let me ask you about TCU. Now, this is not on the show sheet, but I believe Max Duggan was what, a redshirt freshman, he's a young player. He's an underclassman. It seems like unlocking TCU skill position players, because they have some talented skill position players to, potentially have a competitive offense. Do you see some growth from Max Duggan to potentially unlock the Quentin Johnston and unlock Zach Evans and Darwin Barlow and company?
Man, so I haven't watched. I've watched some 2020 TCU, but not for Duggan, to specifically watch him. But from what I have watched of them, I think we're seeing what he is. He's okay with his legs. He's got a decent arm. He just doesn't have. He's not he's a guy that can it's like if you took somebody who had never played football before but was a really good athlete, and you just put him on a football field and you said okay, here you go, play quarterback. That's kind of what Max Duggan is. And I just don't think there's hope that he gets any better.
All right, Matt, do you want to give us your 7, 8, and 9?
Yeah, so at 9, I have Chase McClellan, who you guys have already been talking about, so not much more to say there. Obviously, I agree with you guys. I think he's got the best chance to be the leader in that backfield there, has the most talent. At 8, I have TreVeyon Henderson out of Ohio State. Got to get one guy in here. But I think obviously, again, we've talked about it a little bit. If you've seen us, we've been talking about our C2C mock drafts, and Austin can correct me if I'm wrong here. He's been going to the back end of the first or early second in almost every single one of these things. I'm trying to remember which podcast I was listening to a podcast earlier today who believes he will start right off the bat. I do not think that's going to happen. They will start with Master Teague, in my opinion, unless Henderson goes in there and literally is CMC reincarnate on the football field, which I know is who his comp is. I don't see that happening. They're going to start with Teague. Henderson will get some run. I really think you're going to get the most out of Henderson the next 2 years, but he's just too talented to keep out of my top 12. And then at 7, I'm curious to see if either one of you have him in here, and I don't think you will, but that's Eric Gray. And we were talking a little bit. It may have been off air, on air. I don't even remember now, but I know Austin is not quite as big on Eric Gray. I think he's going to be a great fit in Oklahoma. I mentioned this recently, when it may have been on Devy Debate or Draft Profile Show or off air. I don't know. We talk a lot, so I don't know. I'd mentioned it at some point. For me, Rattler in that offense really turned around when Ramondre started going off and running the way that he did for Oklahoma. And I kind of see Gray going in there and being that for that team. He's a decent pass catcher. I think he's a really good runner. I don't necessarily have him as high as some of the other guys. I think I would take TreVeyon over him, NFL type. Kendall, Milton, Trainum, Evans. But I think what he can do for you this year in college with Oklahoma and how explosive I think that offense is going to be, and then he does bring you that NFL upside, is kind of why I have him ranked here. I couldn't move him any higher, and I probably could have dropped him lower, but it was kind of hard. This is just the spot I ended up settling on for him.
One comment about Henderson is I think Master Teague's skill set lends itself to having another player involved in the offense. I mean, Master Teague is very much a 2-down thumper, your 215 whatever pound guy he is. He is a very much a 2-down back. And so I could definitely see Henderson very early on being used on passing downs, being used on third down for his receiving upside, and potentially, slowly overtaking that role as the season goes on. However, and we've talked about this a little bit, I think that Ohio State is going to be a run-dominant team between C.J. Stroud running the ball and, handing the ball off to Master Teague and whatever of the other 2-down thumpers that they use. That being said, because Master Teague is, a 2-down player, I could see Travion Henderson sneaking his way onto the field early on. All right, let's see.
Really quick, Felix.
Go
one
ahead.
thing. I just realized I do agree with what you're saying on Henderson, and I think Pryor might get some of that as well, like Austin's talked about. I just realized I called the Cincinnati quarterback Evan Pryor earlier. I meant Evan Prater, and I just now realized I'm pretty sure I said Pryor. And I will correct you on the Ohio State thing really quick. They are going to be run heavy because Kyle McCord is going to be their starting running back or starting quarterback. My God, I cannot speak tonight. He's going to be their starting quarterback, and obviously he doesn't have the ability to use his legs the way C.J. Stroud does, so they're definitely going to lean on the run a little bit more once McCord starts. Now continue with your time.
Why would you even want Kyle McCord to start there? Do you understand if Kyle McCord gets that job, Quinn Ewers is not coming to that school?
Nope.
You understand
I can already
behind Kyle McCord for 2 years.
I can explain to you what's going to happen. I'm not going to like it, but I already know what's going to happen. So don't worry about it. I saw the future.
Explain it to us, because I've got Quinn Ewers going to Oklahoma and taking over when Caleb Williams is done. So
Quinn Ewers ain't going anywhere. Kyle McCord's going to start this year. He's going to start next year. And then when it's time for Quinn Ewers to start, McCord's unfortunately going to transfer because Ewers is just amazing. That's what's going to happen. But I'm okay with that. McCord's going to get 2 years. He's going to win us a natty in one of these 2 years. I truly believe that. And then Ewers is going to come in and Austin, no. I'm not here for your negativity tonight. And then Ewers is going to come in and win us a natty as well in 2 years as well. So McCord's going to transfer. He's probably going to go to like an Alabama or something, and it's going to set up a great national championship in 2024 would it be 24? Does that be the second year of Ewers, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll be Ewers versus McCord in 2024 national championship, Ohio State versus Bama. And I promise you, when we're doing this podcast in 2024 and I'm right, the celebration episode I'm going to have is just going to be phenomenal.
Folks, I think it's interesting to pay attention to the way that all of these stories are interconnected in recruiting. We're going to be covering it here, but Quinn Ewers, Kyle McCord, C.J. Stroud, all of these stories are intertwined. And what happens this spring at Ohio State, it could have a potential domino effect on what happens in recruiting over the summer into the fall and as we get towards signing day 2022. So pay attention. All right, I think I'm up here with my running backs. What am I doing? 9 through 7? Is that right?
Yep.
Number 9, I've got Kyron Williams. Also, Kyron Williams, the Notre Dame back who I believe Kyron Williams is a former wide receiver. He can catch the ball. He is a tremendous pass blocker. He's someone that's a coach's dream. He's a freshman too, and he's got he's a redshirt freshman, so he's eligible in 2022. Again, you're talking about a team that is going to lean on the running game next year because they're going to also be starting not a first-time quarterback, either a first-time quarterback or Jack Cohn. And in either case, you need to be running the ball if you're Notre Dame. So we've got Kyron Williams at number 9. I've got Zach Evans at number 8, who had a much maligned recruiting process. And then at number 7, I've got Diamante Trainum. And, I have to give credit to Austin for putting me on to this type of player. Diamante Trainum is what? 230 pounds, bursty athlete. I mean, that's it. That's all you need to know. Football isn't hard. These type of players tend to find themselves in good positions. And so I've got him at number 7. And I'm looking forward to seeing him over the next 2 seasons and to see how he develops, because he could have a Nick Chubb type upside. That's what I think. All right. So let's go back to Austin, and I'm not a math whiz, so let's see. We are going to what?
6'5'4". 6'5'4".
6'5'4".
You say
6'5'4". Austin, who you got?
So I do just want to say before we move on here, the reason that I don't have Eric Gray anywhere in my top 12 here, because I think he is a very popular pick, and I've seen him go in the first 3 rounds of all of the mock drafts that we've been doing here recently. If you look at Oklahoma's running back touches the past 3 years, so this past year, Stevenson had 101 carries, Pledger 95, McGowan 58, Major 35. 2019, Kennedy Brooks 155, Stevenson 64, Sermon 54, Pledger 10. 2018, you got a 164, 119, 30, 29 split. Nobody gets a lot of touches. And I think I'm just lower on Eric Gray as an NFL prospect than most people probably are too, including probably you, Matt. So just the combination of those two things, I just can't. I don't have Eric Gray. Oh, maybe I picked him up. Did I trade for him in one league? Maybe
you did. You gave me Gannell, and I gave you Gray. Yeah,
that's what I thought. So that's the only league I have Eric Gray in, and I won't have him anywhere else. He's just too expensive for what he's going to be. But jumping into mine here, so number 6, I have Travion Henderson. And it's rare, I think, for me that I put a guy that has not played yet in my top, 7 or 8. I did it last year with Bijan. And while I don't think and Bijan was he was my number 1 Devy running back going into the year without even having touched the field. I just thought he was that level of talent. I don't think Henderson's at that level, but I do think he is a very, very, very good running back. And I just think the situation there over the past few years, even if Ohio State's maybe a little uncertain this year, they ain't going to be uncertain for long. It's just the nature of being one of those Uber programs right now that kind of recruits who they want and can do whatever they want. So I think Henderson at number 6 there is by a couple weeks into the year, it might look conservative. I really don't know, but I would have a hard time ranking him too much higher than that without having seen him really touch a football field. Number 5 for me is Tank Bigsby, the running back at Auburn. And I know that there's a big debate kind of a lot between people. I think most people have Bijan number 1, and then it's, you have to kind of figure out Gibbs Bigsby in that class. But I have seen some people have Tank as high as number 1. I just don't quite see that level of upside from him. I think he gets a lot of touches at Auburn the next few years, but his running style is a little unnecessarily physical for me, which, I like a physical running back, but there's a time to calm down. You don't have to drag 3 guys with you and try to take some souls on every single carry. And I think Bigsby tries to do that a little too much sometimes. And I just don't think he's quite the athlete that some of the other 23 backs are. So I have him slotted in at 5, but still obviously a very good running back. And then number 4 for me is Jahmyr Gibbs. And I love Gibbs. I think he's going to be, similar to Zach Evans, where he's just going to probably carry that offense over the next few years because there's really not a lot else there. But at the same time, Georgia Tech will probably hold him back a little bit in terms of his production. You can only carry an offense so much, and without anything else really there, you just kind of become a punching bag. We saw some Georgia Tech games this past year where they just got, absolutely blown out. So I think, Gibbs is going to look really good in college and he'll produce, but it wouldn't shock me if he produces better in the NFL just because he'll be around, more competent talent than he will be in college.
I think that there was some concern about Tank Bigsby after the bowl game because he did not play in that bowl game. And there was some thought that, hey, this is a guy that could potentially transfer. But I just Googled it, and it looks like he missed that game due to COVID-19 protocols. So maybe it's not some. I mean, I think we would have heard something by now if there was the threat of him transferring. But we've heard rumors about Harrison Bailey at Tennessee with the coaching change there. So that's one thing I need to check on is when these players need to make a determination, whether they will or will not enter the transfer portal. But just something to keep an eye on. All right. So let me just cover Austin's top 8 really quick. We've got Jahmyr Gibbs at 4, Tank Bigsby at 5, Travion Henderson at 6, Kyron Williams at 7, Zach Evans at 8, Kendall Milton at 9, Diamante Tranium, Chip Tranium at 10. At 11, we've got Jace McClellan and out of Alabama, and Marshawn Lloyd, who missed all of last season with a torn ACL, at 12. All right, Bruning, give me your 4 through 6.
All right, so at 6, I've got Kyron Williams. You guys have both already talked about him a little bit. I'm higher on him than everybody else, and I just expect him to continue to do what he did last year for Notre Dame, especially if they bring in a guy like Jack Cohen or they brought him in, but if they end up starting him, which I think is a grave mistake, but Brian Kelly does that kind of stuff. So I do think Kyron Williams is going to eat a little bit. Even if they start Buchner, I think he would be a great help to him. At 5, I have Gibbs, and a lot of it is based on what Austin just said. Like, I like Gibbs. I think he's going to be a great running back in the NFL, but his college side I do think is limited, being at Georgia Tech. So while you're still going to get a really good running back, I think his upside and the points he's going to get you on the campus side is unfortunately going to be a little bit limited being in that offense. And number 4, I have Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M. I'm going to be honest, I don't love ranking him here. I like Spiller, but they've got, is it Achane? I swear I say Akne for some reason, but Achane. They've got was it not Arian Smith, but Smith, Aeneas, who does both, the running back and wide receiver. You know, they brought in the freshman this year, whose name is escaping me at the moment, LJ Johnson.
LJ Johnson.
Yeah. LJ Johnson, I think, is going to be really good as well. So, and I know that he worked with the footwork king and he looked a lot better this year. I think he took some serious improvements this year than he did last year. I'm just not 100% sold on him being the second best back in 2022, and that does affect my rankings a little bit more. While I want to get that campus side, for running backs, I want to get them into the NFL as quickly as possible because I think their shelf lives are a little bit shorter than wide receivers and quarterbacks. So I kind of aim when I do my campus to Canton rankings for guys that I'm going to get into the NFL quicker, and so that's a reason why I put him up here. I like his skill set, like his talent. Not sure what he's going to do at Texas A&M, but I do think he's got a little bit of an NFL upside.
No, it's one of the reasons why college football is so intriguing, because there is always a new chapter. There is an infinite number of new chapters, always new characters being born and old characters dying off. Isaiah Spiller, you have to assume that he's going to enter the NFL draft next season, and you've got a highly ranked prospect in LJ Johnson coming in, and a new quarterback that we all saw in the Elite 11. It was Haynes King in QB1. I can't remember if Haynes King was in QB1 or not. But anyway, a sophomore or redshirt freshman, I'm not sure what he was declared last year. Haynes King will be taking over for Kellen Mond at Texas A&M. So we're going to pay attention to Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies. Is that what that's what the Aggies are? All right. It's my turn for my 4 through 6, and at number 6 I have Breece Hall. Now I'm the first person to say Breece Hall because Breece Hall is a good player at Iowa State. He can be used in the passing game. I have questions about whether or not he's an elite athlete. I have questions about whether he is a potential first round pick. I think he's probably a second round pick, which is still elite draft, high draft capital for a running back. But I also worry about whether or not he is a compiler in the Big 12. Breece Hall, the compiler. That's what I worry about. Those are questions that I have, and those are things that I'm going to be looking for in 2021. I have Isaiah Spiller, number 5. He's a little bit bigger, has a little more of an NFL body. So that's why I have him ranked ahead of Breece Hall, even though Isaiah Spiller really isn't considered to be the pass catcher that Breece Hall is, but I've still got him number 5. And at number 4, I've got Travion Henderson. Now, Travion Henderson, to me, presents the two things that I like. I mean, his comparison is Christian McCaffrey, and I've said it over and over again how much I like being used in the passing game, preferably the vertical passing game, or being an elite athlete. And so he's actually both. So I don't care that he hasn't played a snap. I'm projecting him to be, by this time next year, he could be the number 2 running back overall in C2C. And I don't have a problem listing him number 4, even though he wears red and silver down there in dirty Columbus, Ohio. So I'm going to rank Travion Henderson number 4. All right, Austin, let's go back to you for your 3, 2, and 1.
Yeah, I think in 2 of the mocks we've done so far, Bijan has gone to the same team as Travion. And that's like their first and second round picks. And man, if you walk out of that,
nice.
like you could have the 2 most valuable players in college football next year. That's looking like a steal at this point with what I think Travion can be. So I agree with you there. Felix is pretty interesting. So do you want us to do 3, 2, and 1 right now?
I think we should do 3, then 2, then 1, each separated out.
Okay, that works. Okay. Yeah,
that's what if you build up the suspense. You got to.
Yeah. Well, we already know Felix is going to be dead wrong. So Breece Hall at number. Oh, jeez.
I thought you were going to correct me for saying red and silver. Like
no,
usually Ohio State fans. But so you're not even paying attention.
University. No, I'm paying attention. Look, I'm used to your cheap shots at the Ohio State University.
Why are you interrupting Austin? It's Austin's turn. It's Austin's turn. We're not supposed to be talking about
Breece Hall slander is ridiculous. I don't even care about the Buckeyes right now. Breece Hall at 6? Come on.
Austin,
that's like saying, hey, Garrett Wilson's the 10th best wide receiver in college football right now. Sorry, go ahead.
Felix is trying to count where he has him in Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I know. He probably has him at 15. I'll look. I'll go look really quick.
Oh man, yeah, Breece at 6 is because I think he's just going to be a monster this year. So number 3 for me is Isaiah Spiller, and I have a really hard time really ranking 3 through 5, which for me was Spiller, Gibbs, and Bigsby, because like you guys said earlier, Spiller does have a lot of guys, probably more than anybody else kind of in our top few guys here. He has more obstacles in that backfield, and I think that does hurt him production-wise for this year. But like Matt also said, I think Spiller, so I think I said on the show before, I did not like Isaiah Spiller after his freshman year. I thought he looked slow. I thought he looked a little unathletic. I thought he looked, a little clunky as a mover and as a running back, and just wasn't quite showing the instincts that I want someone to show at that position. And then 2020 rolled around, and it was like watching a completely different player. He was listed heavier, but looked lighter. I was watching him and I said, it looks like he lost weight. And I went to go look at what he was listed at as a freshman and listed at as a sophomore, and he was listed heavier. So I'm assuming that means that he lost a lot of that bad weight that he had and turned it into muscle and just looks more trim. And that has helped him a lot with his explosiveness. Like Matt said, working with the Footwork King, I think has done him a lot of good. Sometimes I'm skeptical about how some of that stuff actually helps these guys. Whether it's just, kind of a placebo effect where they have a little more confidence or whatever, but he really looked just sharper and quicker. And I thought because you can usually tell with these running backs as they approach the line, what kind of vision and what kind of a runner they are. He just looked much more natural here as a sophomore. And I think he's a very good pass catcher. I think he's an underrated pass catcher. I think he profiles very similarly to the Joe Mixon, Le'Veon Bell prototype of running back. And I think that's a running back that's very successful in the NFL. And I think that's kind of his, I think he'll be somewhere between those 2 players as a professional. So, and that's, those guys have both hit first round ADP at some point in their careers. So I'm ignoring a little bit of the crowded backfield just because I think for me, Spiller is improving, and it wouldn't shock me at all with how much he improved from first to second year if he comes out the third year and looks even better. So I'm moving more and more all in on Spiller, and the gap between Spiller and Hall is not that big for me anymore.
Burning, you had Isaiah Spiller at 4. Who do you have at 3?
So I've got Tank Bigsby at 3. I still like him a lot. I think he's going to produce in that Auburn offense. I think he's going to be a really good college running back and a really phenomenal NFL running back as well. I have really not as many doubts about him as I don't remember which one of you was talking about. Not necessarily doubts, but weren't as high on him just because of his running style. I'm not worried about it. I think he's got the build for it. He's going to be phenomenal. So Bigsby for me at 3.
And I've also got Tank Bigsby at 3. I think that my last 3 running backs are all potential first round picks. And where we've seen, the 2020 class of Jonathan Taylor and J.K. Dobbins and DeAndre Swift, I'm missing somebody there. Anyway, we saw all of those guys go in the second round. That is elite draft capital. And to say that a running back could potentially be taken in the first round, I think that that's a big deal. And Tank Bigsby, early on, I was talking to friend of the show, Skip Newton, over at the Devy Happy Hour about who I comped him to. And I said Ezekiel Elliott. He's got this physical running style, and he's the guy that you can literally give 20 carries to and run your offense through. But the problem is, I think that Auburn is going to do that, and he may have a lot of tread on the tires by the time he gets to the NFL draft in 2023. But I've got Tank Bigsby also at 3. So let's go back to you, Austin, for your number 2.
2 is Breece Hall for me. And I just think, I didn't object to yours too much just because I figured I could probably get my say in here. And
you can go ahead.
So yeah. Perfect. So I think Breece Hall is going to have a very strong chance to be the RB1 in college this year from a fantasy perspective. There is literally nothing else they are really competing with him for touches, and Iowa State has shown that they like to get him the ball as often as possible in as many ways as possible. That means as a pass catcher, as a runner out of the backfield. They have built that offense really around him because I think Brock Purdy showed early last year that he cannot be trusted. He is a fine game manager and slightly better than game manager. I feel like that's a little offensive to Brock Purdy, but he is not going to carry that team. That team is going to go as far as Breece Hall. They know that, I think, at this point, so I think that he is just going to have an absolutely amazing year this year. So assuming no injuries, he's going to get a ton of touches, and then I think he's going to be an early round NFL draft pick. I don't think there's a day 1 guy in that class, but I think he's going to be one of those day 2. The NFL has shown that seems to kind of be the money round, that second round for some of these running backs, and I think that's where he'll go. And like you said, among some pretty good company.
I think I've noticed the discrepancy in our rankings is that my rankings are I don't care as much about winning on the college side of C2Cs. I know, Austin, you do, and I probably need to adopt your style a little bit more. But my rankings reflect who has the highest upside at the NFL level. And my number 2 back is going to be someone who doesn't have that high of a ceiling at the college level because the team that he's on isn't great. And so, Breece Hall is going to put up stats. I'm not going to argue about that. Breece Hall is going to put up stats, but you know what? So is Ronnie Rivers at Fresno State. And I'm not comparing the two, except for that. That's exactly what I'm doing is comparing the two. But I'm just saying is that my rankings lend themselves to who do I think are going to be the elite producers once they make it to the NFL, not necessarily on the college side. So, and with that, we're at number 2 or number 3?
We're 2. Yeah.
We're 2. Okay. My number 2 is Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is a slasher. I've written something about him on Dynasty Nerds very early in the season. He has a Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook type profile. And in his freshman season, we already saw him lining up outside as a wide receiver, inside running drags, catching go routes from Jeff Sims. Jeff Sims couldn't throw the ball to a Marion Brown, but he could throw it to Jahmyr Gibbs. And so I think that Jahmyr Gibbs has a higher NFL upside than, Isaiah Spiller than Breece Hall in these players. And so that's why he's number 2 for me. All right. Bruning, you're back. Did we get to your number?
No,
you're all right.
I apologize.
We cover for nobody noticed. Anybody who's listening to the podcast, that we're professionals around here.
No, it's all right.
The show goes on.
I'm just going to be 100% honest because I've got to know. So usually when Felix is talking, I assume he's making some bad judgments about the Ohio State University, so I tend to tune him out. And so I was watching a video. Did you guys see the video of Cam Newton was running his camp, right? And everybody saw the video of him going at that. Did you see the video, though, of the kid who throws like the 60-yard bomb that hits like a pillar in the back of the end zone? So it's
No.
like a tackling dummy thing. And I'm assuming they were like, I bet you can't do it. And this kid throws like a 60-yard bomb and hits it. And Cam Newton's face when the kid is just like it looks like you mother when he looks at it, it's just phenomenal. So it made me laugh. So I turned off. My 2 is obviously going to be both of yours, number 1s, and it is Bijan Robinson. I love Robinson. He's definitely going to be the RB1 in 2023. Not arguing that at all. He's ahead of Tank Bigsby, ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs for me. But look, lived in Texas a long time. UT sucks. They always suck. And why Bijan doesn't suck, and he's going to put up some stats, I just don't trust that offense. I don't trust that he's going to put up the stats that I agree what Austin just said. So I'm just going to give mine away now. Breece Hall is my number 1. Breece Hall is going to put up those stats. And like Austin, I value winning on the college side. And so Breece Hall is going to give me that college side production that's going to give me that RB1. And I don't have the doubts about him going into the NFL that Felix does. I think he's going to be a phenomenal running back. So Bijan literally is like a sliver behind Breece Hall for me. It's just because I think you're going to get more out of Breece Hall this year on the college side.
All right. We are ready to I think we already understand who my number 1 is, who I believe Austin's number 1 is. So Austin, let's go back to you for number 1.
You don't want to kick him off? Can if you want. You can if you want.
Well, it's Bijan.
It is
Bijan, and there's so much to say about Bijan that I'm going to do a brief aside. Bijan Robinson went to an elite prep school in Arizona. It's about 2.5 miles away from the campus of Arizona University, not Arizona State, but the other one, the blue and red school where Kevin Sumlin coached. Kevin Sumlin's son went to this prep school, and it's a prep school that's known for producing Division I college prospects. Kevin Sumlin's son went to the same school at the same time as Bijan Robinson, and Kevin Sumlin didn't visit the school while Bijan Robinson was a player there. Obviously didn't get him as a recruit, but it wasn't even a consideration. Kevin Sumlin, what are you doing? What are you doing not nailing down at least some of those prospects and not visiting the school? I mean, come on. So there's not a lot to say about Bijan Robinson. I think that he reminds me of the way that Reggie Bush kind of burst onto the scene for USC. Austin, Reggie Bush was this elite running back in the early 2000s, before, when you were a little bit younger. Matt Leinart, USC, they were a powerhouse team.
Oh, Lions legend, right? Lions legend.
That's you're damn right. One of our few 1,000-yard rushers in the last 10 years. Reggie Bush getting like 1,005 yards. So
that's gotta hurt to say that sentence out loud too, doesn't it?
What, Lions legend Reggie Bush?
No, the fact that he's one of the only people to rush for 1,000 yards in Detroit Lions history here in the past, whatever that's been. That's just gotta hurt.
McKellar came close. He had 900 and something. But McKellar would have been great if he did not injure his Achilles as a rookie. I'm trying to think of who. Kevin Jones Kevin Jones was a beast. Kevin Jones out of Virginia Tech was an absolute beast. He's one of the only players that I saw take it to Ray Lewis in that vaunted Ravens offense. Just collision. I remember that game. And I cannot remember who else has run for 1,000 yards right off the top of my head. There's somebody more recently than Reggie Bush, but
I'll look for you why Austin is talking about his love for Bijan Robinson.
I think Austin already went, didn't he?
No,
I'm losing track. Oh, he did.
We're about to. This podcast is about to go to an hour 30 here because Austin's going to give us when he was born, how he was, destroying his Pee-wee leagues, and Austin was there one day coaching on the other sideline and all this stuff. We're going to get into a whole thing here.
In fairness, Austin said that Bijan was number 1. Now, he said that the number 1 rated running back was the number 1 back in the class. It's not going on that much of a limb, but the intro to this show is me questioning Austin for his takes, and it's going to take me a long time till I build up the confidence to do that again. So, Austin, why don't you talk to us about why Bijan Robinson is number 1 in your rankings?
So I just wanted to tell you a little, or actually, I'll save this little story for the after show about why I think Kevin Sumlin didn't go to get Bijan Robinson.
No, put it on here.
Okay.
Yeah, so the podcast audience can hear it.
Okay. So I grew up in Central Pennsylvania. I was a soccer player my whole, childhood, high school career, played in college at a small D3 school. And when I was a freshman, there was one of the top soccer recruits in the country was from my area. He was also a freshman. His name was Andrew Wenger. He went to Duke and started there for 2 years and then got drafted in the MLS. And I think he plays for Miami now. But his grandfather was on the board at the school that I went to. And when he was a sophomore, his grandfather went to our head soccer coach and he said, "Hey, my grandson is a good soccer player. He plays in high school around here. Would you like to go watch him?" And our coach, he said, "Sure, I'll go to watch whatever game." He went to the game and he sat down and he noticed there were a lot of people there that, were obviously not parents. They were, so he was like, okay, something's going on here. Game starts and the kid that he's there to see is just phenomenal. This Andrew Wenger kid, he's phenomenal. He's the best player on the field as a true sophomore in high school. Scores a bunch of goals. And our coach just leaves at halftime because he's like, there's no way this kid's going to go to D1. We're never going to get this kid. I imagine that's what happened with Kevin Sumlin. He showed up for a game at that high school and he was like, shit, okay, we're never going to get this kid. And he just left at halftime. He hopped in whatever car and he just flew back to school or whatever. And it was over at that point. So that is definitely what happened because Bijan was just a whole different animal in high school. The only other thing I have to add, he averaged 8.2 yards per carry and 13.1 yards per reception this year as a freshman on some limited touches. And that doesn't sound that sustainable over a college career. It's really cute to say well, if you extrapolate that over 13 games, imagine what he's going to do next year in college. But then you go and you look at the career, yards per carry leaders. And there's been some guys that have put up close to that, in the last decade. Darrell Henderson averaged 8.2. Melvin Gordon averaged 7.8. Travis Etienne averaged 7.2. Rashad Penny, 7.5. This guy, Reggie Bush, that you were just talking about, I don't know him, but I guess he put up 7.3 at USC. So while he might come down to earth a little bit, I don't think it's absurd in a weak defensive conference for him to average over 7 yards a carry his entire career there.
He averaged 18 yards a carry in the bowl game.
Yes.
18. 18.8 or something like that.
So I don't think it's ridiculous to say that, that you can extrapolate up to a certain point and still get within a very likely range of outcomes. And that's just what's so exciting about him. And I think he's going to be, I think he has a chance. And I mean, obviously, if an NFL team's smart, they probably don't do this, but I think he goes early mid first round. I think he's just that talented of a football player. I'm close to labeling him as a Saquon level prospect. I need to see a couple more games from him before I can do that. And I'm really hoping that he takes off at the beginning of the season.
Bruning, why don't you talk about why you have Breece Hall over Bijan Robinson?
So I already did that. So I'll go ahead and give your Detroit Lions thing really quick because I looked at it. So Reggie Bush did it in 2013. Then next was your guy, Kevin Jones. So again, never heard of, who did it in 2004. And
Kevin
then next
Jones was a monster in college and in the
UCF,
NFL.
baby, stand up.
UCF. No, Kevin Jones is Virginia Tech. You're talking about Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith is who broke Barry Sanders' college rushing record.
You're right. Damn.
Yeah.
And then last was James Stewart, who did it in 2002. And I do know him.
It was the first free agent contract that the Lions gave. James Stewart was Fred Taylor's longtime backup in Jacksonville before he came to Detroit. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I mentioned it when I talked about Bijan. Breece Hall, for me, I just think he's going to have a better college career this year. And as I mentioned earlier, I want my running backs into the NFL as quick as possible. So while, again, it's literally the smallest of margins between him and Bijan for me, I'm going to get what I think is going to be a better fantasy season in college this year from Breece Hall, and then I get him in the NFL next year. And I, like I said, don't have as many, doubts about him as an NFL running back like you do. I think he's going to be phenomenal with what he can do in the passing game and what he can do as a rusher. I think he's going to be really good in the NFL as well. So I get him on my NFL squad next year. Yeah, I mean, it sucks not getting Bijan, who's going to give you that 2 years of college production. But I feel like there's, again, Austin just mentioned, okay, so Bijan, but then I can get Travion Henderson in the second round, who's now going to give me 2 years of college production as well. And I got Breece Hall for this year's RB1 and then in the NFL. So for me, it's just a slight edge of Breece Hall because I think he's going to be a little bit better than Bijan this year in college.
Austin, can anyone overtake Bijan Robinson in your rankings between now and 2023?
I think he would have to have like a catastrophic injury, in my opinion. I just think, I think we're truly only scratching the surface of Bijan. That bowl game was a preview, in my opinion, or those last 2 or 3 games. That was a preview. I think we're going to see more and more of that from him over the coming years. So no, I don't think anybody can touch him.
Let me ask one question on that real quick. What if Travion Henderson goes out there and just completely has trying to think of who, because Bijan didn't have a great year this year. What if he goes out there and has like a Breece Hall type season? Say Master T gets hurt again. They're like, Henderson, the ball is yours. And he goes out there. Obviously, we know he can catch the ball and is an extremely great runner as well. Puts up a Breece Hall type season for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Here's the difference between the two. Is that Travion Henderson is sub 200 pounds. I mean, he might play at 200 pounds. Bijan Robinson is 220 pounds. And so, like, that's a big difference. And so, even, like, let's see, all things being equal, I expect Bijan Robinson to have a great season. And let's say, hypothetically, that Travion Henderson does also. There's still that 20-pound difference, which makes a difference. I mean, and again, at least my rankings are based on who has the highest NFL upside. And Travion Henderson doesn't have as high an NFL upside because he's still, a lighter player. And so, at least for me, all things being equal, it would still be Bijan. But Austin,
you like those thick boys. I got it. You got it.
Yep.
No, I agree. He's got that. What does Katie Flower say? That steak ass that he's got.
That's right.
He's just built that way. He's thick.
Bruning, you can't vote for your own rankings. Who has it right between me and Austin?
Matt does. I guess I would. No, I'd say Austin because I feel like ours are a whole lot closer as the same than necessarily yours. I mean, Breece Hall at 6 is a travesty. You also who did you put? You put somebody up in there that I'm pretty sure I've never even heard of at some point. So I'm joking.
You mean all right.
I don't remember. Let me pull up the show sheet really quick. Austin, did you put him in here yet?
Yeah, they're all in there. Well, Felix.
No, you mean Zamir White.
Zamir White. Will Shipley. Get out of here. Me and Austin are at least somewhat close on most of our. So I'll give it to Austin because it almost is like my rankings. So,
Austin, in fairness, I'll give you the same question. You can go ahead and pick Matt.
I think they're all like there are things that I like about each of yours, and then I dislike about the others. So I think I think we're all they're close
Austin
enough where it's arguable.
Always the politician.
So.
Well,
okay. We're here to hurt each other's feelings, Austin. Just choose Felix. It's okay. I can take it.
Let's make this a democracy and turn it over to the audience. We're going to post this on the Twitter page at Devy Debate, and let us know who you think, whose rankings are most accurate. Whose rankings would you rely on in your C2C drafts? All right. Anything else before we close out the show, boys?
I got nothing.
Yes, we do.
All right. That's going to be our show for tonight. You can find our written content on your local AM stations. Follow the show at Devy Debate on Twitter. Please go to iTunes. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. Apologies to Kirk Herbstreit. We ran out of time. We promised to get him rescheduled soon. For Matt Bruning, for Austin Nace, I'm Felix Sharp. Good night and good luck. Oh, damn. God damn it.
That's why I said, yes, we do.
I never pay. I didn't even hear you. Like I didn't. And of course, I'm never paying attention. This is the thing. Like if I pay attention to the chat, like I'm trying to like listen to what you guys are saying and I'm trying to jump in when you're done. And so I'm like listening really hard. And so I just can't, like, I don't pay attention to the chat. So anyway, I thought that was a good show.
Well, it's all right. You want to say it right now, and I can put it in later? I mean, it doesn't matter. It's on the after hours show here. Just say,
yeah. Here we go. Hey, make sure you're staying tuned to the Devy Debate Twitter page, to Austin at Devy Debate. Let's do that again since we're going to
Devy Debates. Devy Debates.
Make sure you're paying attention to the Devy Debate Twitter page. We're going to have an announcement on Monday. So you want to be following us. You want to hear what's going on. So make sure you're paying attention for an announcement Monday. It's going to be some exciting news. Pay attention.
All right.
What was I going to say? It was really encouraging that whoever that guy who said that our show from the draft profile show was good, because I was like, man, I feel like our other conversations about Zach Wilson and Justin Fields had more fireworks. And so I just felt, I honestly felt that it was a letdown on Friday. So
we got it.
Released on
Look,
Monday.
like maybe you. I know you don't. I know Zach Wilson is like a son to you, and you keep your emotions in check. Justin Fields is like a long lost lover for me. So when people question him, I get a little bit defensive, and so you may not have noticed.
But you've gotten more defensive before,
okay,
and I was like that's good. And like we've had better arguments on Justin Fields. I'm just saying. So when that guy said that he liked the show, I was like, okay, that maybe it wasn't. I shouldn't feel bad about it. So
I think some of it too is I'm just used to it by now. I mean, my God, I was listening to Sirius XM today and they were doing the same thing. It's like, if you watch Justin Fields, he had a great game against Clemson, but if you really look, he's just not that good a quarterback. And, he didn't really, he couldn't beat out Jake Fromm at Georgia. Do you even know what happened at Georgia? It was never a competition. And like, if you look at Zach Wilson's stats, he was great in 2018.
Wait. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Talking about
Justin Fields did not beat out Jake Fromm in 2018.
He wasn't given an opportunity. He wasn't given the opportunity.
It doesn't matter. It's factual that Justin Fields sat on the bench and had like 6 pass attempts while Jake Fromm ran that Georgia offense. That's just
so. Let me ask you something. Justin Fields isn't as good as Jake Fromm. Justin Fields isn't as good as Jake Fromm. That's what you're telling me.
That's not what I'm saying.
That is what you're saying.
It doesn't matter. They wouldn't put him on the field.
So, Austin, how are you doing today?
The best part is he doesn't even know. Oh, he does. Okay.
He does. Yeah, he did.
I did. I was like, what happened here?
No, I don't know. I don't want to argue about it anymore. But yeah, it's not even just that part. Fine, if you want to say he didn't beat out Jake Fromm, but it's all the other stuff. To say he didn't have a good past 2 years, like, what are you talking about?
You're not talking to me over here.
No, not you. I'm saying that was what they were talking about on Sirius XM radio today as I was listening to it. Like, they went in there and said Zach Wilson was a phenomenal freshman, and then he got even better in 2019. And I'm like, even better.
He did not get better in 2019.
That's my point, though. It's people are just propping him attention. Up. Yeah. And then, of course, they made the comp that everybody makes. It's like, if you watch him, he's like a little Patrick Mahomes. And no, he's not. Like,
he didn't get better in 2019.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just gotten to a point where, like, Justin Fields.
He was about as good as Justin Fields was in 2018 and 2019. So.
Well, and that's sad because Justin Fields couldn't even get on the field. So, anyways. My point is, and like I said on the Friday show, Justin Fields has become this year's Justin Herbert, where he's an extremely good quarterback and he's just going to continue to get criticized for no reason. And there people are going to regret it when they pass on him. And that's all. I truly believe he's the second best quarterback and has the ceiling to be better than Trevor Lawrence. You all right, buddy? So
I thought he was asking Felix that for a second.
No, my son came out here.
I posted that 7-second sack, when we were talking on Twitter. That's just bothersome to me. How can you be, a 6'2", 230-pound athlete with allegedly sub 4.5 speed and get sacked after, like, just have somebody come on your blind side after 9 seconds in the like that just shouldn't happen.
I know, because it's only happened to Justin Fields, the only quarterback ever in college football to ever get sacked.
Zach Wilson makes quicker decisions. He does.
That's debatable, but
he makes quicker decisions.
It's going to make this show in 5 years when we're on Sirius XM a whole lot of fun because Justin Fields is going to be balling out. No, but Justin Fields is already probably going to win an MVP at that point, and it's going to be just fun to trash it.
What's
Zach
funny
Wilson's going to be backing up somebody.
I would not have a problem if the Lions drafted him. Like, I would much rather have. I liked Zach Wilson because he was the underdog coming up. Like, Patrick Mahomes fell. He didn't fall, but I mean, he was the 4th quarterback taken in that draft. What it was?
No, he
Trubisky, Watson. Was there another? Is Trubisky, Watson, and was there another quarterback taken?
Who went one? Didn't a quarterback? I'm almost positive a quarterback went one, didn't? No, Garrett went one. That's right. Right? Was it Garrett? Was that the Garrett draft? I remember the Bears. Bears traded up for Trubisky.
Right.
And then because I remember the fucking Browns trade. No, they didn't take Garrett because that's right. The Browns had like the 10th pick or whatever, and they traded it to get to Houston, and Houston comes up and drafts Deshaun Watson. And we needed a quarterback. I'm pretty sure the quarterback was Brandon Weeden at the time for the Browns, and you felt the need to pass on Deshaun Watson for Brandon Weeden.
Yeah, NFL record holder for completion percentage. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Brandon Weeden.
Done great things for him, clearly.
You love completion percentage because you always bring that up with Justin Fields.
Because it matters. If you can't complete the ball, you're not going to stay on the field.
There's your comp right there. Brandon Weeden, Justin Fields.
I'm pretty sure he's Brandon Weeden's grandkid. I think I read that somewhere. Justin Fields.
Justin Fields? I don't know. Probably.
That's the age gap.
Brandon Weeden's what, 38 right now?
Something
like that, yeah.
Did you like Braylon Edwards, Burning?
I did.
Braylon Edwards, my dad went to school with Stan Edwards, who's Braylon Edwards' dad. And there was this big Penn State game, a night game. It was like one of the only night games
it was the Garrett draft.
Michigan.
It was the Garrett draft.
Yeah, I thought so.
Okay. So here, I've got it pulled up here. Or now it's taking forever to actually pull up.
I need to do this more often because I think I'm a better host when I am
drinking,
partaking.
Why is this not pulling up?
I never do it because I'm always trying to be like so sharp.
So it was Garrett, Trubisky, Solomon Thomas, Leonard Fournette. Patrick Mahomes was the second quarterback taken.
I do not remember it that way.
Kansas City draft jumped up to 10. Cleveland and Deshaun was the 12th pick. That was where the trade happened with Houston.
Okay.
So Kansas City traded up to 10 and took Patrick Mahomes, and Houston traded up and took Deshaun Watson at 12. So yeah, he was the second quarterback taken. Golly, that was the day right there back in the day. Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey in the first round.
Not only in the first round, I mean, they were like top
10. Yeah, both
top 10 picks. You'll never see that again.
No.
Well, I mean, after Saquon, you'll never see that again.
TJ Watt, Jesus. The Browns took David Njoku over TJ Watt. Great call. And Jabril Peppers in that draft. I forgot about it. God, what a dumpster fire of a draft outside of Myles Garrett. Oh, good thing
Jabril Peppers could have been good if not for Greg Williams, though.
I love Peppers. I'm just kidding. I hated when they traded him. I liked Peppers. I got no issues with him.
Greg Williams always has his safeties playing out
center field. Center field.
I mean, it's like more than center field. It's like in the stand somewhere. So,
yep, good old Greg. But hey, thanks to him, the Jaguars now get Trevor Lawrence. So. Jags
is Austin frozen?
No, he's there.
Okay.
He's just
he's there.
He's not talking. He's researching right now. Did you guys look at that Cam Newton video?
No, I didn't look it up yet.
I haven't seen that one. No, I haven't. No.
I mean, I saw the kid giving him lip. And the kid that giving him lip, did anybody look him up after?
No, he did post an apology. I saw that. Someone
he's like not that good. It's not like he's like, this like the number one safety recruit in the country or something. He's kind of he's not like a bum, but like I went on his huddle and I was like, this is the kid that was shit talking Cam Newton. Like, geez.
Yeah, he posted some like apology after the fact. I saw a bunch of people retweet it out. Man, why can't I find this? It's on Instagram. I don't know how to.
Cam Newton. Listen, ESPN is always trying to pull like Drew Brees and Jason Witten out of the be there. I mean, Cam Newton would be the best broadcaster since frickin' John Madden if they pulled him into the Monday night booth.
Let's see here.
I do think he'd be good. I don't know. I love me some Tony Romo. I never thought I'd say that.
I do too. Yeah,
a lot of people hate Tony Romo for some reason. I don't mind
Joe Buck sucks. I cannot stand Joe Buck.
Everybody hates Buck, but
no, he's very polarizing. I can't believe that some folks like, when David Tyree is going. First of all, when Eli Manning is coming out of whoever's grasp, almost sacked in a critical play in the game, and David Tyree makes a catch off of his helmet. Off of his helmet. And Joe Buck is like, Manning back to pass. Tyree makes the catch. I mean, that's what you got. out of that iconic play.
He likes to let
the catch.
He likes to let the play breathe.
Yeah, why not? What's wrong with that?
I like Joe Buck.
Oh God.
I like that he's a little more understated. I kind of just like I watch most games on mute. I kind of wish the announcers would just shut up.
What kind of take is that? I like Joe Buck because I don't listen to him, and I like Joe Buck because
So you like looking at him?
I think he's held back a lot because he's with Aikman, who's like was hitting the head like not even one too many times, like 10 too many times. Like I don't know.
I mean, Gus Johnson should be the play-by-play man for everything, right?
I don't love him as a football announcer. I think he's fine, but I think he's more conducive to basketball. I think he's awesome at basketball, where it's just faster paced.
You and I are gonna fight.
I'm sorry,
Gus Johnson, U of D Jesuit, stand up.
Kalamazoo.
He's the best. He's not from Kalamazoo. He's from Detroit. So
I'm gonna start playing a drinking game every time I see you say Kalamazoo, stand up.
I'm gonna
be wasted at like 3 p.m. on Tuesday.
There was a kid, and I already knew Tejano K. Passanio was from Kalamazoo, but there was a kid from either the Bucks or the Chiefs from Portage Northern, and I just missed it. I didn't realize that there was another kid from Kalamazoo that I didn't highlight. So I don't know if you saw. So I don't know, not everybody sees everything on Fusu, or excuse me, on Twitter. Actually, we should just call it Fusu. That's what we should call it now, on Fusu. On Fusu tweeted about, some running backs that he liked, and I just went and looked them up, and I didn't realize one of those players is from Portage Northern. Portage Northern is like a suburb of Kalamazoo.
Okay.
I mean, it's essentially Kalamazoo, who's going to Northwestern. This 210-pound, 2-down bowling ball type player is going to Portage Northern. So that was like one of the schools that we played when I was in high school. Oh, well, I mean, they play now. I mean, it's in our conference. Portage Northern, Portage Central. Anyway, Portage Central back in the it had to be the early 2000s. So, excuse me, Portage Northern. Right around the time, or a little bit after, T.J. Duckett came out of Kalamazoo, there was a running back named Kelly Baraka. Kelly Baraka was a 5-star running back. He came out at the same time as Jerome J.C. Harrison, who Bruning will know played for the Browns. He had like a 230-yard game for the Browns. Bruning's not paying attention, and he's not listening.
What year was that?
What year did JC play for the Browns?
Or just when was he active? Because I don't know.
Like in the early, JC in the early 2000s. So I graduated from college in 2009. So, and I remember playing with him. So JC went to Eastern first. I don't know what happened at Eastern Michigan. He didn't end up playing there. He ended up going to Washington State. And I remember because I would play with Washington State, and it's on the NCAA video game, your impact players had a white circle around them, and it would pulse when they could do, some sort of crazy play. And I would always play with Washington State. So it was like the early he was in high school when, in the 2000 between 2000 in the early 2000s. And then in college, 2000 between 2005 and 2009, and then played for the Lions and Browns after that. I wish Bruning would pay attention so he could say, JC was my favorite player because he's from Kalamazoo.
He's a busy man.
Bruning, wasn't your. Do you know who I'm talking about? He's shaking his head.
I've got no
you don't
idea
know
who you're talking about. No.
How can you not know your own running back history? You don't remember William Green? You don't remember?
I've only been a Browns fan for a year. What are you talking
That's
about?
what I was about to say.
I'm just kidding.
You only been a Browns fan for what?
A year.
I'm kidding.
You remember JC. Well, they didn't call him JC. They called him Jerome. He goes by JC, but Jerome Harrison, you don't.
I really don't.
Jerome Harrison was a fantasy darling in like one of those guys that you picked up.
Yeah, I actually
won you a fantasy league.
Playing fantasy football that long. I've only been playing for.
Do you remember William Green out of Boston College getting drafted by the Browns? like number 17 or 18.
I don't know, man.
Gosh.
There's a lot of bad teams.
I'm older than you two. I'm older
You're
than
not
you.
older than both of us. That's the problem.
The funny thing is I'm not, but I'm in ability to use technology and in Browns. Now I guess I am older. William Green. Look up William Green. William Green was a first-round draft pick for the Browns out of Boston College. I think he went 15 or something like that because it's the same year that T.J. Duckett was drafted in the first round, and T.J. went 22 or whatever it is to the Falcons. So
he was drafted, first round. Dude played in 46 games, 2002 to 2005. See here.
I can name drop. I was at lunch with TJ once in a group of people.
A whopping 2,000 rushing yards in his career, and you're mad that I don't remember the dude. Seriously.
He was a first-round draft pick for your team.
And
I can name every first-round draft pick from now to 1990 for the Detroit
2,000
Lions.
rushing yards in 3 years with the team. Okay,
I didn't say he was good. But the Browns.
I remember good players.
It's
and
not
the Browns
my team.
had
That team
good
drafted
players.
him a number, whatever it was.
I understand that. That's my point. We've had shitty players for a long time.
Anyway, I was at a lunch with TJ Duckett, and I remember being really quiet. It was with a whole bunch of old guys. I was young at the time. I had just started my professional career, and he had retired from the Lions actually. And they were talking man, remember that draft? Remember who was that running back that was taking a few spots ahead of you? And being the nerd that I am, it was the one time that I spoke up. I was it was William Green. William Green out of Boston College. So, me and TJ actually had the same coach, and his coach became my coach when I in high school. The same guy who coached him. So,
man,
that's a long yawn.
How did you recognize Chris Peterson walking down the street? You were telling that story, and I was like, there is literally 0% chance that I would recognize There's very few college coaches that I'd be like, oh, hey, look, it's whoever, and pull over.
I have no idea. And the thing is, and I remember that game because Boise State was playing Michigan State. It was the first game of the season, so you can look it up. I want to say they played a home and home, but it was the first game of the season, So I was in law school at the time, so it had to be between 2010 and 2015. So whatever, look up Boise State's schedule. It was one of those years, 2010, 2000. It was probably Chase with you. So it was probably 2012 or 13. Look up Michigan State's schedule. It was the first game of the season. Boise State was playing Michigan State in a nationally televised game, and I have no idea. I was going to the MSU FCU Federal Credit Union on the corner of Capitol and Washington in downtown Lansing, and which I could have walked to from my house, but I drove. And I saw Coach Peterson, who was probably staying at the Radisson downtown. And I jumped out of the car. I saw him, and I hurried up and parked. And when I had Facebook, this picture was on my Facebook page, but I haven't had Facebook in years.
Le'Veon Bell had himself a game that day. Jesus. 210-2.
Le'Veon Bell.
2012.
This feels like a Javon Ringer. This feels like a Javon Ringer game.
You said 2012, right?
Well, it's the first. Well, it was the first. I don't remember the year, but it had to be around that time.
It says Boise was away. I can't imagine it was a home away. Was it? Serious?
Le'Veon Bell played in that game?
Says
I thought it was a Javon Ringer game.
It's 17-13 final according to this. It was the opening game of the year, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what this is.
It was the first game of the season. Yeah. Huh. That's okay. I didn't realize that. What other stories do I have? Nobody else is talking, and I'm intoxicated, so I've got.
No, I can talk about whatever. I'm trying to get this the Danny Werfel mock draft set up here for our nice collection of individuals. I mean, freaking Alfred this morning, he wants to get these things out every 2 minutes. I'm like, dude, these take me half an hour to set up. Let's calm the fuck down a little bit.
Alfred, it's so funny when Alfred is on the clock and it takes him a long ass time to pick because Alfred was the main guy talking about let's go. So
Oh, there goes Matt again. We lost him.
all right, I'll tell a story.
Please do.
So,
Shit.
So I'm doing a lot of name dropping today. I might as well continue.
You are, man.
Yeah, I am. When I played with at least 5 or 6 guys who played in the NFL. The most prominent of which was Brandon Carr, the longtime cornerback for the Cowboys, Ravens, and Chiefs.
Yeah,
and who also got the Odell Beckham's catch was on BC. And I remember, like we all knew, like he started as a freshman. And, everybody knew he was good, but you never actually saw how good he was because he never had to run. Like you never saw him exert himself. Like he was so good that you never saw him run fast. Like you never saw him need to. But in practice one day, we were doing red zone 1-on-1. So starting at the 20, going towards the red zone. And we always switched. Like sometimes you weren't going towards the red zone. Sometimes you were. And Brandon would always go up against, Eric, God, he played for the Lions. I can't remember his name. Eric Fowler. Eric Fowler. So if anybody who's watching this, which is absolutely no one, if you Google Eric Fowler played for the Detroit Lions for a couple of seasons. He wasn't a draft. He went to the Steelers camp, Austin.
yeah.
He went to the Steelers camp, but then he didn't play for the Steelers. He ended up going to playing for the Lions, played some regular season games. So Eric and BC would always go head to head, and Eric was like a senior when Brandon was, a sophomore or something like that. And so we were going red zone drills, and Brandon was in press, and Eric beat him right off the press. I never saw Brandon get beat before. And so, it's red zone, so it's like set hut, the ball is in the air. And immediately off the press, Eric had like 2 or 3 steps on Brandon because it's press. Like if you lose when you're pressing and you don't have, it's one-on-ones. There's no safety behind you or anything like that. And so Eric immediately had 2 or 3 steps on him because Brandon missed his press or something like that, which you never saw. I've never seen someone recover that fast. The ball was in the air immediately, and Brandon accelerated it was like, okay. And he was already 6 foot, 215 pounds, whatever, playing corner. So he was a big corner. But we never saw him try. But he got beat that one time and he had to try. And I never saw anybody recover like that before. So
it's amazing how just it's a totally different level those guys are on. Totally different. I've played against some kids that, went D1 and stuff, and it's not even the same stratosphere as the guys beyond that. It's
just. But even in soccer, it's just like the story you told during the show. They're just you leave at halftime because all right, this player he's a sophomore and he's just better than everybody else. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you remember Eric Fowler?
I just Googled
okay.
him.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I was like, you should, okay.
No, the first thing that came up though was that he was in Steelers camp, and I was like,
Yeah.
No, I don't remember that. But
yeah,
the name sounded familiar.
He didn't. I remember tracking him. He didn't make it, but and I think his name. I can never remember Nick's name. But we had a guy. I played with a guy who was Tom Brady's center for a little while. Actually, he played for the Browns for a long time.
Scooter?
No, Dan Scooter. Dan Scooter was a linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers. Actually got a second contract.
Oops.
Brandon and Dan went to the same high school, Flint Carmen Ainsworth. Mm-hmm. But Bruning, this is a player who the Browns hated because I want to say he signed with Cleveland as a free agent. I want to say it's Nick Collins. He has I can't remember. I should remember his name.
Is it McDonald?
Nick McDonald. Yeah, there you go. He played for the Patriots for a little while.
Yeah,
and it was Tom Brady's center. It was like, and ended up going to Cleveland. Bruni is not paying attention to anything. That's why I'm sitting here doing all this talking.
He's a busy man. You know, he's got.
Maybe he's cutting the show. Are you cutting the show?
I think we have to get out of here before he can cut it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think-
Oh, I didn't realize I wasn't on mute. I would have been talking. My bad. I thought I was something. No, I'm working. All right. You got stuff that needs to be done. I'm just continually working. Got a lot of stuff I got to get done here, buddy. All right. I'm trying to make things look
I'm
good.
just sitting here like carrying the after show.
That's all right.
What are you drinking, Felix? Oh, classic.
Oh, nice.
Living down in Kentucky. I think that just
Yeah,
comes
it's like a
standard with it's like the milkman come, but it's the Jack Daniels man. It just leaves a bottle on your porch every, Monday or
No, so Jack Daniel, like it's a Tennessee whiskey, which is not, you're supposed to drink Kentucky bourbon. You're supposed to drink Woodford or, I don't know what the other bourbons are, but no, I like Jack Daniels. So
I've never been like I like whiskey and stuff, but it's not like my go-to liquor is tequila if I had a choice.
ooh, you go
I just
straight
love
for like
tequila.
Damn it.
You don't
I
get
like to
I don't get hungover on it. Like I could drink that in college and like I can still like I did it a couple years ago. You can like just get trashed and like pass out and you wake up like 3 hours later and you're fine again and you just jump back into whatever you were doing. It's a miracle beverage.
I thought today was a good show. Like I'm always worried when we do the easy stuff that it might be not come off as well, but it did though. So
When you this morning were like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do that. I was like, well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have zero notes. I can't wait.
Yeah.
The nice thing is doing all these shows now is like I have a bank of enough things to talk about that like,
Right.
virtually any topic, I can at least fudge something.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, on the last three, we have broken the 400 mark.
Awesome.
The past
I like that we
the
haven't
big
talked
episodes
about
and the
numbers.
Draft profile one as well. I just looked today when I was looking at stuff.
I remember asking like early on, but after we got to a certain point, it was just like, well, it's doing well enough. So,
Yep.
shit, I forgot what I was going to say.
I told my family this past weekend about this stuff. Finally.
Oh, yeah?
I had not disclosed. So yeah.
It's
He
always,
said like I have
Well,
something to tell you, mom and
it's
dad.
always a weird conversation. I
Yes.
think like my family doesn't understand any of this stuff. So like when they're like, oh, so you do like a podcast? It's like, yeah, I do a podcast. So what is that? You just like talk to yourself? I'm like, yes, Dad, that's what I do. Just talk to myself.
So my mom either watches or listens. And she's the only one that I've told about like the announcement. Well, I'll spill like
What we're
my mom
recording
and
an episode.
I know. And then one of the players that I've written about, because I asked them for a quote.
Yeah.
I sent the thing to him also. So, and he actually said, sorry I didn't get back to you, but blah 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 blah. So,
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, none of my family plays fantasy football. I'm the only one.
Yeah, I'm right.
I have
Doesn't
a
mind
brother that I'm close with, and like he was a big soccer player, but he doesn't watch football. Like he just doesn't care about it. So
I shouldn't say that. My younger brother plays in one, and it's our main dynasty league I've been in for 8 years now.
the one you just pawned Dallas off on some unsuspecting sucker.
Zeke, you mean?
Oh yeah, that's who I meant. What did I say?
Yeah, Dallas. Close enough.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. And what's
You know
I
what I
mean, I still think he's going to bounce back. He's going to have a good year, but I'd rather have Najee in a 2023 first. So, yeah. But yeah, that league. Yeah. Yeah, he's got
I have the 101. I just looked up. Like I have the one. I traded like all of my like Leonard Fournette. I got a first for Leonard Fournette last year. I traded Aaron Jones. I traded Julio Jones. I traded a whole bunch of players. Like I was old and I just traded them away for young players. And I actually have. I have the 101 in one league, and I'm like, I don't want. I'd rather. Like, is Najee Harris going to change this team I don't know.
Is it one QB?
It's one QB. So
I just did that. I don't know how I got invited. I got invited to one of those blueprint mocks that Sleeper did that Huss did over at Sleeper.
I told him to invite you guys.
Oh,
He
okay.
asked who I trusted with the rookie stuff, and I told him that he should invite you guys. I'm in one with Jared and Ray and them.
I say because it's like like Izzy and like all Joe, whatever his name is. It's like all these big name people, and it's like me with like 1,000 followers just sitting there like.
Well, no, that's the one thing I like about him. He said, he's like, I don't care if they've got a lot of followers. I want people who know what they're doing so we can put out good mocks. And I was like, well, reach out to these guys then.
But
I love that somebody.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Austin.
As in 2 QB, Najee went first in our draft, or in Superflex. Najee went first.
That's not smart.
I mean, I wouldn't do it, but I don't know. I think that's a very like kind of old school fantasy mentality. Like I think us young pups will go after the QB, but I do see a lot of
and you have like an elite talent at that position this year, if any year, to go quarterback. I could see last year going Jonathan Taylor over Joe Burrow. I actually did it in one league and I shouldn't have. And this is definitely not the year to go, the number one running back over the number one quarterback, at least in my opinion.
No, I mean, I agree. And actually, we talked a little bit about in the other show a couple of weeks ago about how I kind of wish I had the 101 in more places because I think it would be fun just to try to trade the paperclip into the house. But, obviously you're starting with more than a paperclip. But I think it would be fun to trade down from that and just see what kind of a haul you can get for that. But I only have the 101 in 2 places. That's not enough for me to be like, let's get crazy here.
Would you be trading up for like Najee Harris though? In one QB? I don't think so. No.
I mean, I like Najee helped himself this year. Like he probably would have risen in my rankings, but like when I had Najee and ETN in my rankings last year, like Najee was like RB5 or something. I didn't have him ranked particularly high. So I mean, if you just go by that comparison, I don't think he's close to. I have like a mid first grade on him, like a 106, 107. I don't have like last year I had, Taylor and Swift both definitely higher than him. I actually had Akers higher than him too. So
Brandon at HeyEB3 has already commented that
about your Breece Hall slander. Yeah,
there's some serious Breece Hall slander.
Yeah, I like Brandon. He pops in a lot of different places, and
yeah,
I think he just started writing. He messaged me a couple months ago and said that he wanted to get into writing, and asked me a couple,
really?
Like where do you find like the these kind of stats or, but he looks like he's out there making it. So kudos to him. I like getting those kind of messages from people and helping people. I did get one today, and I think I upset the person because he was like, "How do you change a 1 QB to a super flex?" And I was like, "You don't." Like I gave him like an actual answer, but I was like, I don't think you can come up with a way that like someone isn't upset about it.
Yeah. Well, that should have. I mean, that's right. That's the right answer. That's probably the right answer.
I was like, I've heard people do it in 2 to 3 years, but I don't recommend that. And he was like, well, what does 2 to 3 years look like? And I was like, I know, don't do it. Yeah. But he was.
I think we should answer how to turn dynasty leagues into C2C leagues eventually, because that might be a little bit
that would be interesting. I've never heard of a league doing that before. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard.
You just start at the C2C side.
Yeah. Right. But the problem is the trading of future draft picks that already happens in dynasty leagues. But I think that just means that, you get additional picks on the college side.
Well, I mean, I think the easiest way to do it would be, I don't know. I'm not. Most of the dynasty leagues I'm in, you don't really see people trading that far out though, like 3 or 4 years. Usually it's like a year ahead. So you can probably just do something where you announce, hey, so in 2022, we're adding a campus side to this now. So if you trade your first round pick, you need to know going into that your rookie draft might be depleted by this point in time if you traded 2023 first, because all those guys are not going to be owned on the campus side and they're going to come right up into your NFL. Like, I think same thing what Austin was mentioning with the Superflex. If you give like a couple year heads up, like, hey, we're going to be going to a campus to Canton League by this time, so you know if you trade those first round picks, they're going to be devalued, that you can probably make it happen.
We should probably go ahead, Austin.
I was going to say, I think the best campus to Canton leagues, though, are the ones that there is some sort of format where the rookie picks still are worth something. Like, I play in ones where it's like, 2 copy in the NFL and single copy in college. Mm-hmm. So, like the college player, another copy of them is coming in, and it makes those picks still have value. It's just more things. Like, I think the more things that I have to value to play around with, like, how do you value college players versus NFL, and then, incoming rookie picks or whatever versus, NFL rookie picks, or, freshman versus rookie. Like, just the more things I can play around with value wise, I like, it just give me more toys to play with.
Yeah. Well, I think you get some of that. Like this year, anybody in a C2C league that has the 1-1 on the NFL side has like a golden ticket, and the amount that you can sell that for anybody who wants Trey Lance is going to be massive. So, and you get some of that with the college side of it. And just using the program, we've had a ton of trades that have gone down over the years just because of people who value different sides. Like, I think you traded away a bunch of players to go. You tried to go more college heavy, and you ended up still making the playoffs on the NFL side anyways. So that's what, I think even though you lose some in the rookie side, you still gain so much on the college side. And even though in the program you don't do it, most of them obviously have those freshman drafts. You add that draft part into it as well, because you can trade for the freshman picks and so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I think competing on the college side is nice. It's like easy money.
No, I like it too.
Because most people don't do it. So, it's just, there's money to be made.
That's true.
I get the more and more leagues I get, and I got to be able to pay for these somehow. So,
I mean, there are so many players on the college side. Like, you get like Jalen Darden, Ronnie Rivers, Malik, like that could be your start, like Malik Willis, Ronnie Rivers, Jalen Darden, Dustin Crum, and Isaiah McCoy, who Isaiah McCoy actually has an NFL future, but and Dante Wright, somebody like that, and you're like way ahead of you're scoring 200 points, 200 plus points on the college side.
No, I'm with you, Austin. That's why I was a little bit frustrated that I actually, in a way, won. Although I bet a bunch of people didn't set their lineups on the program side. I actually did set my lineup every single week on the campus side and technically won it. And now my team's going to get blown out this year because I lost all of my quarterbacks. I think I've got Desmond. No, I forgot. I got Goodell now, too. So.
I have these 2 shiny Ohio State quarterbacks just hanging out on my roster.
I can't give up Breece Hall, though. Well, my running backs are dead at the NFL level, especially if Aaron Jones doesn't go anywhere good.
That's unfortunate, but
it is.
Because I feel like I have to move them in a package deal. I don't know. Maybe I just take a gamble and trade you McCord and Stroud. I have McCord and Stroud.
Oh, I didn't know you had Stroud too. I knew you had McCord because I reached out to McCord before.
Yeah, I have them both. So I went out and got Stroud once it was pretty obvious I was getting McCord, because I was like, let's just lock this down. Gotcha. So, I mean, I feel pretty good about one of those 2 starting. I can't picture a world that Jack Miller starts next year.
And that's going to be the funny thing. Watch Jack Miller ends up being the starter. If we're doing all this, it's going to be Stroud or McCord, and then Miller starts, both transfer out. It's like, well, shit. Not what I was expecting.
I did watch, because I'm going through my rankings, and I watched McCord, and I just can't get with a quarterback who's a pure.
I know.
I just can't. I can't do it, because I'm like, well, every quarterback that I'm watching has decent throws, So it's hard to differentiate those guys. Like, when I watch Carson Strong play, I'm saying, okay, I can see the strong arm, but I can't differentiate those players at the high school level. I can't tell the difference between Kyle McCord and Tyler Buchner's throws. Like, I can't do it. So
He only played 2 years of high school football too.
who? Kyle McCord?
No,
Yeah,
Buchner.
Oh.
Why?
Well, he didn't play this year because California
he
didn't play,
tore
and he
something.
missed his sophomore year because he blew out his knee. He only played freshman
Yeah.
and junior. So,
Yeah. Oh wait, and then he's there. He's at Notre Dame now, so he wouldn't like his spring season. Like his high school would have played this spring.
yeah, as far as I'm aware, he's there. He's not playing spring.
No, he
season,
is.
So
He is.
yeah.
I like it. I'm getting a lot of votes. It's going to change.
You are.
I was pretty proud of saying like, either it's going to be Jack Cohn or a new starter at quarterback, and either way, you better rely on the running game.
Man, Cone is so bad. Like I should have known that they were going to go out and get him. Like it was too good to be true once Ian Book actually left. Because I was like, well, maybe Book comes back for a year. Like I don't think he has an NFL future, and he could go back and run things back there with them. And then he left, and I had a breathe a sigh of relief for like 3 days, and then they went out and got Jack Cohn out of the portal.
And they're going to start him too. Notre Dame is not going to
are.
finish in the top 25 next year.
Just when I thought this year that they were starting to figure out how modern college football works, they just completely went out and did the exact opposite this offseason. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Like they have been out athleted for so long. Like you can dominating the trenches sounds cute until you go up against Alabama, who's running out, Jalen Waddle and Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy and whatever. And you're just like, ah, shit. Like they've never been able to do that. And I thought with Tyree and Mayer and some of these guys, they kind of started to figure it out.
But they don't ever draft receivers. Like I'm always looking at like who are their recruit. Like who are their receivers that we're going to rely on? They
have a couple kids there with Jordan Johnson and Kevin Austin's a really good athlete. He just can't stay healthy.
Let's see. Somebody watching.
Dylan.
How would you rank Etienne, Javonte, Jefferson? Is that Jamar
Jefferson? Don't disrespect Jamar on this podcast.
Whatever.
Yeah, we have a bunch of people watching still, by the way, but
we do. I'm leaning towards ranking Javonte number 2.
Javonte should be number 2. That shouldn't be a question.
Well, I know you have number 1, but Austin.
No, I don't. Harris is number 1. I don't have Javonte at 1.
You had Javonte. We had a whole show about you having Javonte.
Yeah, I know. And then I came back the next episode and I was like, guys, I was wrong. Harris is number 1.
Mr. Flip-Flop over here.
Of course,
a regular old John Kerry over here.
But when Etienne gets drafted by the 49ers, I'm going to say Etienne's 1. That way I can cut up whichever one's the best in a couple years. But like, see, I told you guys, just like everybody else does. No, for me, it would be Javonte, Etienne, Jamar. That's literally how my rankings go. Harris is 1. It's Javonte at 2. Etienne 3. Jamar is running back 4 for me in this class.
Jefferson isn't even like my. I think I've got it. I've got the top 3. So Etienne, Harrison, Javonte. I've got Ramondre 4. I've got Trey Sermon 5, and I think I have Jefferson 6. So.
And if you go to the Devy debate poll, you'll see why nobody trusts Felix's breakdown on running backs. He's losing massively on the rankings list. I'm just kidding.
I never win these polls. I don't care. These polls are racially biased. So
yeah, there we go. Austin, thoughts on the running backs? Because I actually do need to go in a minute. So
I have him in that order: Etienne, Javonte, Jefferson. I think we're just forgetting. I've said this so many times. I just think it's a case of Etienne's been so good for so long that we're just picking that kid apart.
I'm not really picking him apart. I just don't think he's as good as Harris. I really don't. I don't know. His vision is not good to me. And I mean, we talked about earlier in the episode how much that means to me as a running back. I don't think his vision's that good. It scares me. And I also don't think he's the best pass catcher to ever come out of college, like PFF said earlier today. And I don't even think he's better than Javonte. So
I think there's a lot of backs better than him in this class, pass catching wise.
Yeah. I was like, well, that was kind of a very bold statement to make. But hey,
heat. I am taking some heat over here for my rankings.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty
bad.
You're
getting lit up a little bit.
That's all right. We all have those moments, so.
I can take it. They can throw.
I just saw what Corey. You know what? I haven't even been following Corey. I'm following Corey now. That's great. That's great.
You were following him before?
No, I don't follow that many people. I follow more players than I do anything else. I like to see what players have to say.
You gotta follow Corey.
Yeah, but
Oh,
I follow players. I don't follow a lot of people. I don't like people influencing my decisions. So
Yeah, I like Corey. I wish their podcast was coming back. I liked. They only did like 3 episodes, and then he had the baby. His wife had a baby or whatever, and so.
I'm very shocked and disappointed.
Felix retweeted me. I think about blocking Felix at least 6 times a day.
With every Kalamazoo stand up, it gets
pretty much
stronger.
Pretty much. All right, Matt. Do we got to let you get to bed?
You got Pittsburgh. I got to put my city on the map. So
yeah, I got tomorrow's my last day of work. I want to get it over with as quick as possible. So, we doing a draft profile show on Friday?